Your friends that are paying a mortgage to buy their house are going to hate you for this one. I'm going to show you how you can have as many properties as you like without ever using your own credit, without ever taking on debt, and eventually you can buy as many houses as you like just the same exact way. My name's Sean Rocky Jeech. This is Airbnb Automated, and let's talk about rental arbitrage. All right, welcome back. For those of you that know me, Sean, Airbnb Automated. For those of you that don't, I have 60 properties and I don't own any of them. I lease them all. And the coolest thing about this is I started this business, and it doesn't have to be business for you, but let's talk about it like my business. I started this with about $4,000 about 5 years ago without ever using my credit. And actually, I've got a fun story to tell you about this. I got evicted in 2009. I got my car repossessed. My credit score was like 520 something. And I started my own company in 2010 in the middle of that disaster. Sometimes you can't choose when your opportunities come, right? So I ended up down in Corpus Christi starting this business that works with newspapers. And long story short, I need a place to put my sales employees and to live myself when we expand into California. And this is when the magic happened. I got denied for an apartment. Dun dun dun, right? And yeah, you have an eviction on your record, you can't get a place a lot of the times. And my credit score sucked, so I couldn't go get a mortgage and buy a property. But the leasing staff at this one building said, hey, Sean, you've got enough cash coming in and out of your bank account, like 4x the amount of rent, so why don't you start an LLC, start a business, apply as the business, and we'll just take your cash flow from your bank account and we'll approve you. This was the beginning of something really cool. So this was in 2012. My credit score was still like the low 500s. And of course, your eviction sticks on your record for probably 5 years, I think. And so what happened is in 2014, my company is continuing to grow and we're doing really, really well. And I relocate this sales manager from Detroit and give him a place to live as part of his relocation package, because that's what big companies do. And I was trying to do big company things. And so I signed a lease through my same LLC, the one that got approved in California, signed an LLC lease in Houston, and that person ended up only staying there for a couple of months and then moving. I ended up having to do something with that property because I was about to be losing like $1,600 a month paying rent for this place. I lived in the same building. I ended up picking up a third property as a favor to somebody who's moving, and I took all 3 of them, and then I listed those properties on Airbnb, and they started paying for themselves. So that is the heart of rental arbitrage. Now, you don't have to do this on Airbnb, but Airbnb is like the biggest player in the game right now. If you look at different companies, there's like this big one called Sonder. They've raised over $200 million. And what's cool about this model is you could get a lease from a building, get permission to then find your own tenants, and then you just upcharge the rent. If you furnish the place, you can upcharge the rent even more. And so that's where the cost can come in, is you sign a lease, furnish it, and then upcharge it, you make a ton of money. In places like New York, you don't even have to furnish it. You sign a lease and then get roommates, and you can charge them a premium. So rental arbitrage is not some new thing. Struggling actresses and Broadway stars in New York do this all the time. This is pretty common in places where there's a hard rental market, where getting approved for places can be tough. And so this is a serious thing that already exists. And now, because of platforms like Airbnb, it makes it easier to do it in other cities too. So your total cost to get into something like rental arbitrage is however much money you spend on furniture, right? And you don't have to take on debt. Some places will give you furniture for free, no interest for a year, and that's a pretty solid deal too. But let's just say you don't want to take on debt like me. I started with $4,000. I got on Amazon, bought pots and pans. I went to Walmart and bought everything else I couldn't get on Amazon. And then I bought some furniture, and I went like diving through Craigslist buying some used stuff. But furniture is generally cheap enough new that you can get good quality stuff without having to break your bank. And so $4 or $5,000 you can get in. And in cities where occupancy is low, you know, where your building's not really full, they call that low occupancy. Those leasing agents are under so much pressure to get the place full that they'll be more likely to say yes to something like rental arbitrage. And it's also very much likely that they're going to give you a lease concession, like a special discount off of your regular market rent like market rate of rent. And what's cool about that is you might get that up front. So let's say that you sign a lease with a place and you agree to pay $1,500 a month in rent, but they give you 6 weeks free, ask for that 6 weeks up front. You won't pay your first dollar of rent until halfway through, your second month, which means you're gonna pay a half month's rent on your second month. Make sense? So, cool thing, you wash, rinse, repeat this model, right? Spend $4,000, $5,000 in furniture. Then you put that thing on Airbnb. You can also put it on Booking.com. If you have more than 20 properties, you can put it on Expedia, but you can put it on HomeAway in the meantime. Expedia bought HomeAway. Lots going on in this space. And so you charge, let's say, $100, $120 a night. And if you follow pricing strategies that I give you on this channel too, you can stay over 90% occupied. So if you have, 26 days booked at $100 a night, let's call that simple. That's $2,600, $1,500 in rent. There's $1,100 in the middle. You'll also charge cleaning fees and stuff like that. But let's say your net profit after internet and stuff, your net profit's like $800 a month after paying all of your bills and rents. That means that in 5 months you have another $4,000 to buy furniture again. So you can take $4,000. Start an Airbnb listing. 5 months later, take another $4,000, start another Airbnb listing, as long as you're getting these front-end concessions. And what's wicked cool about this, though, let's say you get 6 weeks for free. You literally got $1,500 extra that first month and $700 extra the second month, right? So you have another $2,200 in your pocket from that front-end lease concession, which means you can pick up a property like 3 months faster. So you can, inside of that third month, because you got that $2,200 plus your $800 a month, you're looking at $3,600 in profit in 2 months. So in your third month, you can go pick up another one. You can literally get a new studio apartment furnished and launched every 3 months, okay? So your friends are paying for a mortgage to have a rental property that somebody pays them $1,700 a month to live in. Their mortgage is $1,450, right? So they're getting an extra $250 a month off their mortgage, and they have to pay interest and all this other stuff. And if they want to buy a second, third, fourth, fifth home, like you get a second, third, fifth, fourth apartment, they have to put 20% down on that property. So if they want to buy a $200,000 home, they've got to put $40,000 down to buy another investment property for them to find a renter or to put it on Airbnb. But for you, that $40,000, you can get 10 apartments, almost 10. You probably can get like 8. So with that 8, if you're profiting $800 times 8, that's $5,600 in profit. Let's say you buy that house for $40,000 down and you buy that home. And over the course of that 5 years, you're looking at your $5,600 profit standalone versus they're getting $1,800 a month in rent, and some of that money is going towards interest. So they are getting $1,800 a month minus interest. So let's say they're getting on average over the course of their whole 30-year loan, $1,200 a month going towards principal, or $1,300 a month going towards principal, and $500 a month going towards interest. They're making $1,300 a month. Well, you're making $5,600 a month. Now, if they put that home on Airbnb, they could get on maybe an extra $3,000 in profit, right? So you're still making $5,600 and they're making like $4,000 and change. How cool is that, right? Now, the cool thing about this too is you get to reinvest your money faster, right? If you have to wait to put $40,000 down on a property every time you buy a home, it takes a lot longer to fill up that purse to $40,000, where if you do it $4,000 or $5,000 at a time, you can pick up a new property so much more faster, which means you start making more profit faster. The person who's saving up that 40 grand, they don't make more profit until they put that 40,000 down and then buy furniture, which is another factor we didn't think about. So that person is spending $45,000. It just cost them $40,000 to get into the property. It's killer, right? So let's talk about the whole not having credit thing. So how do you do this without not actually using your own credit score? That's the question. You can be evicted. You could have had a repossession. You can have had a bankruptcy, bad judgments against you. You could have your wages garnished right now for like child support or whatever. You could be going through hell right now, and this will work for you. And here's how it works. You go form an LLC. It's pretty much that simple, but let's go into it. So an LLC costs a couple $100, $200, $300 to start per state. And what essentially that is you're forming an entity that you will have represent you in your business dealings. And so that LLC can get an EIN number, which is an employee identification number, and you will apply just as if it was your social security number to get a place. Now, With that said, you still have to, of course, get approved. So you can get business credit. Those are called trade lines. You can do business with somebody and say, I'll pay you in 20 days for the thing I bought today. That's called a net 20. And if you pay those on time, that's a trade line where you've paid your bill, right? That is how you build credit with a business, with trade lines. That's simple. You can also get secured credit cards. And if you have a bad credit score personally, I recommend going to like Wells Fargo or somewhere else and doing a secured credit card. You put $300 down in the bank, they'll give you a card. After 6 months of you using it, they'll give you a real credit card. And then now that real credit card, the longer you hold it, the longer you have a line of credit. You should have about 7 minimum open, lines of credit in order to really start to have a robust credit score. And those lines of credit have to be aged, right? For a personal credit line or a personal credit score, this takes a lot longer. You have to have like a 5 or 6 year average line of credit, maybe even 7 years, I think. On average, like all of your lines of credit on average, like total median is 7 years, which means if you have a 1 month old credit card, you also have to have a 14-year-old one to average 7 years. Make sense? With businesses, this works a lot faster. They will verify your last 90 days of payment history. They really fast track you on businesses because LLCs aren't humans. They're not kids. They don't grow up after 18 years. Things just don't go as slow with businesses. You can get funding, you can just dive in and do business, you can make money, and businesses are meant to last maybe 5 to 8 years, half of them on average, and then some outlive you, which is cool. And this is something cool about this too, is you may think you need to buy a house in order to build up like a legacy and a nest egg for your kids. Well, why don't you form a business and your kids take over the family business? Have you ever heard of this? Yes, you have. So why not rental arbitrage? Why not have a family business of real estate? You don't have to own the real estate to have a real estate portfolio, right? So I'm going to find you guys a breakdown of a financial institution that was talking about how short-term rentals are a new asset class, right? So when evaluating a property, evaluating it for its short-term rental capabilities actually adds to its value, right? So if you owned a home or owned a multifamily property that was short-term rental conducive, you could actually make more money off of that too, because your property gets like rated based on its cash flow. Businesses are the same way. If you spin up a business that is making, like mine, we make like $2 million a year cash flow through the business. I can sell that right now. And in the hotel industry, you can sell at multiples of your net profit, right? So in hotels, 6.5 or 7x multiple is common. So we make on average like $35,000, $50,000 a month net profit. And so I can sell my business for that 7x for a year. So $600,000 times 7, basically $4 million business. So I can sell my rental arbitrage business for $4 million. And I started it like 4.5, 5 years ago with $4,000. And if my credit score was 500 right now, if my credit score was still 500, it would not matter. I could have done this the whole way. How cool is that? So when your friends, your family tell you you have to do it a certain way, you have to get a mortgage, you have to pay your stupid mortgage for your dirty house that needs to get repaired all the time, and you have to pay your property taxes, and you got to get a normal tenant, and you have to worry about having to evict them, and you have to deal with junk tenants like that because you have a cheap property because it's the first property you get to get into. No, you can just dive right into luxury properties, get a bunch of them, and put them on Airbnb and do rental arbitrage. And then eventually you get big enough, you have employees. So I took a month off and didn't work on any of my companies for a month, except for like this YouTube channel, hired a videographer, and we're having fun. So we've been working on this, and all my other properties have been automated. I took a month off, and they were just fine. Actually, some of them grew, which is way cool. So you have questions, I'm sure you do, leave them in the comments. Welcome to the newest form of real estate, rental arbitrage, and welcome to Airbnb Automated. I look forward to seeing you all. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the other side.